Hi, we're live from the WRC Green Room, and I'm sitting with PBS Commissioner Bob Peck. You know, the whole theme this week is world-class talent. You never know when your audience is going to be around, and you're always going to be on stage. When we shot that video, we didn't realize that we were actually captioning the perfect example of someone who's actively disengaged. Q12. Bob, what is your overall impression on that? Do we hit it on the head there, or what do you think?
Also, you know, I once worked in an office where everybody was kind of grumpy, to use a term, and disengaged. Although, to tell you the truth, I think we had a crappy boss, so maybe that's why. But even so, you know, everybody could tell. I'm an East Coast guy, and I don't use terms like karma. You can walk into an office, and you can tell when everybody's got a bad attitude. And you know, for us, in the few places where that happens, you know, it means our customers can tell as well.
The white elephant, you can cut it with a knife.
Right.
We all know there. We all know that.
That's exactly right.
So what we'd like to do this week is we want to get everybody engaged and energized so they go back home and they can deliver good messages and be a positive impact. What do you hope to convey when you go out and address our audience today?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about PBS's priorities for this year, and one of them that I'll talk about is the change in the way we think about requirements development and how we talk to our clients.
That sounds great, Bob. Well, even though grumpy, kind of a bummer, you're here. You're going to get this audience engaged, up on their feet, and we're excited to have you.
You got it. I'm pumped. Okay.
All right.
Dan out.
Go
Sounds
get him,
great.
Tiger.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Everybody, let's put our hands together and have a conversation with our PBS Commissioner, Bob Peck.
All right. Okay, I'm pumped. First of all, this is the first time I've been to a Western Regions conference since the last century. The last time I came, it was San Antonio, 1999. I guess I have to thank the voters for letting me come back. I had a great time. And as I've been saying, that PBS is now so green that we're recycling commissioners, so I'm back. Anyway, thanks for letting me be here. Thanks to all of you for coming. I do want to get us pumped up this week, and so I usually put this slide at the end, let's have a conversation, but I don't want to talk too long. I'm told there's somebody here who's going to hold up a card if I do. Is that you? You want to leave now? Okay. So the other thing is that they told me I couldn't sing, right? Because, I mean, you know, these other guys came out, they sang Frank Sinatra, and I got this card, and it's got Sammy Davis on it. Now, I'm old enough to remember Sammy Davis, so I thought I was going to get to come out here and go, I gotta be me, you know, but they said no, okay. Besides which, we're talking teamwork. So, I want to talk about our priorities for the year, and I'll hit a couple of high points, and then I really would like to get some questions. Whoa, there we go. These are our priorities for the year, at least the way we've talked them through with our senior management team. And just notice the first four of them are kind of our outward-focused initiatives. They're things that everybody can see, our clients and the general public. You can see them there. I'm going to talk about them. The second are a little bit of external and internal, including, as you'll see, some sustainability woven throughout these. And then finally, they're more internal, the kinds of things that we watch ourselves about. Although, as you know, eventually our clients can tell whether we're trained, whether we have good performance measures or not. All right, well, you know, what can I say? This is the one reason I'm back is I said, boy, anytime the administration and the Congress want to give us $5 billion to spend improving our inventory, greening our inventory, I'd kind of like to be a part of it. And I have to say, by the time I got to GSA last August, you all had already gotten well down the line. You'd created from scratch in February and March when this thing passed and when you had to provide a spending plan to Congress, a set of more than 270 projects. You'd made a commitment to the Congress and the American people that you'd put at least $5 billion out by the end of fiscal year 10, and darn, you can see what you did. You obligated $5.1, almost $5.2 billion in contract awards, something like 4 times our normal capital expenditure program in 1 year. And we'd said that we would put out about $1 billion in outlays by that time. That was one of those scientific wild-ass guesses. And we came unbelievably close. And I have to tell you something else that, you know, along about the beginning of September, we were somewhere around $800 million. So $138 million came in the last month. This is unbelievable. Give yourselves a round of applause. It was just a hoot. And what we need to do now is follow through on the projects. And one thing not to forget is that we need to talk to our clients along the way so that they know when their building is going to be under renovation, when the project's going to be finished, and more important, probably most important, telling them what's going to happen at the end of that time, the end of the rainbow, so that as they live through a little bit of dust and noise sometimes, they know why we're doing it. Let's see what else we got. Lease process reform. Okay, so I have to admit, between the last time I was at GSA, I left in January of 2001, and the time I came back, I spent 4 years as a broker on the national broker contract. So I learned more about our lease process than I probably ever wanted to know. Some of it thrilled me. Some of it made me crazy. And so we're going to try to find a way to do our job on leasing better and faster. We have a wonderful team working. They've already come up with 21 major recommendations. They're streamlining. There are ways that will make us respond to the markets faster. And here's the most important thing about that. If we are faster and more flexible and more easy for landlords to deal with, we'll not only get our work done faster, but we'll see a reduction in our rent because we pay for the fact that landlords find us a little bit difficult and very long in getting a lease negotiated. So this is going to redound to everybody's benefit. As you know, one of our priorities in June of this year, President Obama issued a memo saying that we are going to find from non-BRAC, non-defense projects, $3 billion in savings by September 30th, 2012. We're well on our way to doing it, but there are a lot of moving parts to that, including finding more property that we can declare excess, that we can turn into surplus property and get out of our inventory. And then there's something I'm going to talk about a little bit later that we've been discovering as we've been working through this, and that's the thinking differently about how much space we need in the first place and how we can get rid of space that agencies sometimes think they're fully utilizing right now. And this is what's linked to it, requirements and solutions development. Many of you are familiar with Workplace 2020. A number of those projects were in Region 8 and Region 9 and Region 10. And so you really are familiar with it. But this is a different way of talking to our clients about what they need. And you know, the line I always use, some of you have probably heard it and you're sick of it already, is saying to a client, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you might find you get what you need. So we need to find a better way of talking to our clients about, yeah, I know you've always had 250 square feet per person, but there's actually a way to do this with technology and with different thinking about the way you organize your offices. And by the way, allowing daylight to come through to as deep into a building as you can, which means no private offices on the perimeter of a building. With those kinds of things, we're going to find a different way of thrilling our clients and adding value to what they do every day. And in doing all of this, we're going to be innovative in a different way, and I hope everybody's heard about the Green Proving Ground. As long as we're spending $5 billion mostly greening our inventory and creating ways for our new buildings to be green as well, we have an opportunity not only to use the most cutting-edge technology and green practices that there are, but to beta test new technologies that people need to put in a real application to see if they work. And so, as you'll hear later this week from Eleni Reed, our National Chief Greening Officer, and our goal this year is to find 12 to 15 projects that need a beta test. We have 1,500 buildings all over the country. We're in every climate zone. We got buildings in Key West. We got buildings in Nome, as you Region 10 folks know. We got buildings in Hawaii and Guam. We can test pretty much every kind of system you can put in most any kind of climate and see what works and see what doesn't, and report to the American people, and most importantly, to the American building industry, what works. And my dream is, and I hope you'll be with me on this, is that we'll find some technologies that are brand new, that people can manufacture in America, and that will lead to the creation of green jobs and a greener economy. One way we get all of this done is through global project management. Every region has now had a visit from the GPM team, which is run by Allison Azevedo from Region 5, Chicago. She's going to be here later this week too. But this is not such a huge big thing except for learning to work in teams, and meaning at the beginning of a project we get everyone together who's going to work on it, whether they are in portfolio management, whether they're from the general counsel's office, regional counsel's office, contracting officers, construction managers, everybody who might be involved in a project early on so that they feel like they're part of a team and so that there are few, if any, handoffs. And so that our customers have one contact person all the way through a project from the day they walk in or call us or email us and say, I've got a need, to the time we close it out, so that they don't have to learn our structure and our system, but we provide a seamless service to them. It's the regions that already do this find that it's more fun to work this way, and it's definitely more effective. And when we talk to our customers, our clients, about a different way to work, about a different way to use space, it's really going to work a whole lot better if the client experience they've had working with us before has been one that really got them what they needed and communicated with them all the way in a seamless way. Performance measures. For those of you who can remember me the last time, one of the things I always say, and I say to my private sector real estate friends, is that GSA is like no other agency in the government, in that we not only say we run like a business, everybody in government wants to say they run like a business, but we're self-financing. We do run like a business. Our bottom line matters. If we don't make funds from operations every year, we don't have money to plow back into our buildings and keep them up and maintain them. We collect rents. We have lots of numbers that we can measure ourselves by. And if we do this right on those lists of measures, we'll not only be virtuous in doing the right thing and getting projects done faster, reducing energy, getting leases done faster, diverting waste, but we'll have a good time. We'll change the conversation in GSA so that we're talking to each other, as I know you do here, about what works and how can we get the work done better. I have to tell you, when I was at this conference the last time in 1999, I remember listening to a session that the property management folks were having. And I remember how impressed I was that people were getting up saying, talking about how they had been able to wring a couple extra cents of, a couple few cents more of operating cost per square foot out of their building while maintaining their customer satisfaction scores. And that's exactly what we want our people to be talking about. And they were doing it in a way, people were giving each other, little challenges about, I think my field office can do better than yours next year doing it, or my region. And, if you all want to do that and place a couple of wagers upstairs at the gaming tables on this for next year, we'll take that into account too. And to get all of this done, I think, in the right way, we need a more systematic way of going about professional development. We do a wonderful job of training internally on the things that have always been important to us and are still important, the acquisition rules, and how we go about getting our work done within the government context. We do have some pretty good training through boot camps and ALD for people who are moving up the ladder. But I'm hoping that we can find a way to make sure that everybody's on the same page when it comes to training about how do we talk to customers when they walk in the door and say, I need this is what I want, and we're going to tell them, aha, but here's what you need. There's a way of talking to clients about that. Everybody in GSA is a negotiator of a sort. Everybody's a marketer of a sort, and I mean that in the highest form of the word. And everybody moves up the line. And we often promote people without giving them the kind of management and leadership training that they need to excel at the job as they move up the line. So we have a team that's already working on defining these requirements and making sure that we do this. And I know many of the regions here also have a lot of best practices to teach us about training and professional development. So that's what's on my mind. That's what I'm going to try to keep to those priorities through the year. There are loads of other things we're working on that I haven't even touched on. We still have issues on security, IT, I know that. But these are the big ones that we're going to measure and we're going to judge ourselves by. So I hope you'll join me in a fun year, in a year in which I think we're going to knock the socks off of our clients. We're going to impress the American people and our federal colleagues at how well we do our work. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it, and now I'd like to hear yours. And I didn't get I didn't get the hook yet, right? I'm still okay. All right. Questions? challenges? All right. Okay. Yeah, that's, all right, so that's a, who want to get, state your, you ought to have to state your name, and it'll make all I know, yeah. Former PBS guy trying to put me on the spot. Would that be it, Michael?
That would be it.
Yeah, okay.
My name is Michael Gelber. I work for FAST in Region 10.
Thanks. One of the, it may have been a planted question, but I didn't know about it. That's an interesting question. We had a customer roundtable with some of our national client reps, the people who run facilities for FBI and Justice the other day, and I said, the amazing thing about this presidential order for all of us in the facilities business in the government is that we're being asked to do that. We like real estate, and we're used to acquiring real estate, managing real estate. Some of us dispose, but most of us are really sort of holding on to it for dear life and trying to get more of it. And now we're going to be in the position of actually trying to relinquish it. There are opportunities, as you all know, and I'll give you an example. The Patent and Trademark Office, for which we did a lease construction project of about 2 million square feet when I was leaving the GSA the last time, based on their workforce, now has only about 1 in 4 of their employees actually in the office on any given day. They are almost totally having people telework. And it's going to be an incredible move for us. The short answer to your question is that as we reduce space, the logical thing for us to do for fiscal sanity and stability is for us to get rid of lease space as it comes up, as the leases come up for expiration. Now, all of you in this room know that that's a very complicated chess game because the lease that comes up for expiration first may not be in the agency that's managed to consolidate itself into less space in the government-owned buildings. So we may have a couple of domino moves to do, and it may take several years to get there. But there are private sector firms, and we have some pretty good examples through Workplace 2020 of showing how people can use space differently. The other thing I want to say about that is that there are, and we're going to try this, by the way, at the GSA headquarters building at 1800 F Street. We're renovating the building. Yes, your colleagues in the PBS headquarters are going to learn what it's like to live through a renovation in place in a building. And we're going to be able to brag to our clients for years to come that we know exactly what we're putting them through. But we're also going to try to get 3 to 4 times as many people into that building when we come back. How do you do that? One way you do it is just walk around your office space on any given day, particularly those of you in the regions who are on the front lines who actually provide all the services. You know that any given day somebody's out looking at a project somewhere else. Somebody else is off because they're on vacation. Somebody's back in central office. Somebody's at training. We have a lot of vacant space in our buildings now. It's a question of figuring out how to capture it, how to get people to work differently, but also how to give people a place that they can call home in the office. But I mean that both figuratively, where a place that they feel comfortable, and literally a place that they can go to a private place if they got to call the school, as I have had to on a few occasions, and ask them why they're what my kids seem to have done today. And, I don't want everybody to know about it. Just that kid when I get home. But that's all. Other question? Anyone else?
Yeah. My name is Jack Hanley. I'm the council president for the National Federation of Federal Employees. We represent about 4,000 GSA employees, and I know you for a long time, Bob. I got to say a couple of things, and then I have a question for you.
Well, how about starting with a question, Jack?
Okay. How are you going to stuff more than twice as many people in that building and still allow them to be able to do their work in a way that keeps morale at some point of sustainability?
Well, if you ask the people at the Patent and Trademark Office, who could, if they wanted, stuff 3 to 4 times as many people in their building now, they'll tell you that morale in their workplace has never been better because people get to work, they get to come to the office when they need to, and they get to stay home when they don't need to, or they can work from, in our case, work from a client's office. A lot of this is about technology as much as having a place to sit in the office. Nobody's saying that you won't have a place in the office, but it's going to be but we're going to have different kinds of places in the office. We're going to have, hopefully, we're going to have as many amenities in the buildings as we've had before. We'll have break rooms, and then I got to say, you can tell I'm moving up in years, but the younger folks who work in our office tend to work more from the break rooms than they do from their offices or cubicles anyway. And so it's quite possible. If you walk around our building right now, you'll see on any given day a lot of space that isn't being used. And it's what's going on in industry. It's going on in a lot of the more progressive federal agencies. It's a way, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, in which PBS and FAS are going to need to get better at collaborating. Other questions?
I have another one. If you can answer it, I guess it's a brief one. But if for years you've been doing a Western Regions Conference, and why has there never been an Eastern Regions Conference? That's a great question. We've started to we've had that conversation with the regional commissioners, and I think maybe I don't know if Westerners are just friendlier. I don't want to admit that because I'm an East Coast guy. But I think that one of the things we learned from the Recovery Act projects is that doing some of our work in zones has made us work better. It certainly has made the central office, I just admit this to you all, focus more on being an accumulator of best practices and a transmitter of best practices than in trying to second guess all the work that you do. And so I think that you're going to see there's regions A, B, and C. I think you're going to see that that some of that's going to happen. And Jeff, am I right? There have been some conversations about it.
It started very small. You go way back to the WRCs. It's really only 2 regions, and so it's grown into this event. And there've been conversations with our peers, our other regional commissioners, about picking up this practice. People from other regions are here participating to learn.
Okay. Jeff said that I know that there are other regions who've wanted to participate, but you all have sort of, you're in the Alamo and you're not letting anybody else around. So, but I think that other regions are really talking about it. And I'd be surprised if we didn't get it going sometime soon. Of course, we don't have I don't know our equivalent to Las Vegas. We'll have to go to Atlantic City, I guess, on the East Coast. It's nothing like this. Other questions? Anybody else?
I've got a question.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Ann Crowley. I'm with Region 10. I'm right over here.
Oh,
Hi.
there you are. Oh.
The lights are right up there. You brought up a good point about best practices. And I think that this last LB2P, we were encouraged to cross-share, to share best practices. And I think it worked to a certain extent. Obviously, it could have worked a little better. What do you think we should do, or what do you think you should do to encourage us to continue with those best practices? Because if we only all knew what we knew, we would be even greater. Yeah, that's a great phrase. It is okay. So I have to tell you, one of the things that's amazing about being in national office, I think the assistant commissioners will tell you the same thing, is that I can walk into I can see a tremendous project done in Region X. And it's a particular way of running a construction project or doing the leasing process. And I'll go to Region Y and I'll say, well, have you guys ever tried that certain way of doing it? And they'll say, oh yeah, we don't do that in our region. And I'll say, why? And they'll say, well, often the answer is we tried it once and it didn't work. And I say, well, why don't you go back to Region X, because they've done it a dozen times in the last 2 years and it seems to work like a charm. There's a lot of barriers that we need to break down. Measuring performance, and I'm big on it, but I also have to admit you can really mess up if you set the measures, if you set the incentives, if the linking budget to performance payouts are done in such a way that a region that does a really good job at something wins at the expense of everybody else. We'll do just the opposite of what we need to do. So we need to set the goals and the measures in a way so that a region that's doing well attracts people from other regions to come there and find out what they're doing. And I have to tell you, going around the country, there are pockets of amazing stuff going on in every single region. Everybody's got something that they do differently just because of the mix of people and somewhat better than in other regions. There's lots of things to learn lots of ways. But anyway, we do have a team we did a measure slam a couple of months ago to try to figure out what the measure should be for this year. And we have a team working on how the payouts actually work too. And I know that in the last, and I'm going to admit this too, because we ought to talk honestly, there have been in the past, I don't want to say how many years, but in some years there's been a feeling that some regions always got the curve working in their favor and other people didn't, and we need to watch out for that. It's got to be a level playing field in a way in which everybody feels like improved performance benefits them. At the same time, if you keep sort of improving but at a really kind of a low buzz level, at some point we ought to say, hey, you got to make a leap. But what we really want to do is reward people for getting better and for talking to each other.
Bob, I think we have a question from the green room.
I was afraid of that. Come in, green room.
Robert?
Yes.
This is God. My question is, have you been collaborating? I'm sorry, Bob. I'm sorry.
No, it's a bad word.
The opportunity. Let me pass it back to Nikki.
Ooh, it's so great to be on stage. I can't believe it. I'm Nikki Monig. I'm from Region 6, and I'll be sharing my talent as a facilitator with you throughout the week. With me, we have John Jordan, Deputy Commissioner for FAS. His talents are accounting, auditing, and mixed martial arts. John,
mine's
what was
mixed
your real
martinis,
question?
but I'll...
My real question, Bob,
Yep.
is, from your perspective, what is the difference between now and when you were with GSA back in the 20th century?
I went over into the new millennium, but two things. One is I'm back, so for me it's different. The biggest difference is that we have a younger workforce. There's been an influx of new blood. I mean, we always were getting some new, but we have a lot more new employees in GSA. And it has changed some of the conversations in lots of places. And I think it's opened us up a little bit more to innovation and to new ways of doing things. And so, John, but you've been at GSA, I think, for something like 35 years. Am I right about that? So I want to ask you, you didn't... So you didn't have this break-in service like I had. So I want to know what have you seen change over the last 10 years?
What I've seen change is, like yourself, you and I now are the oldest people in the room. And that wasn't the case 10 years ago.
No, it wasn't.
But what I think I've seen over the entire career, and particularly in the last 10 to 15 years, is that there's been a conversion of technology to the point where here recently it has become core even to buildings. And so there is a natural convergence, I think, of the responsibilities of the two services. And we need to start behaving as one.
I think so, too.
So, Nikki?
You guys want to have a seat? Get comfortable? I've got a few questions for you, so get ready. What do you see as some successful examples of collaboration between PBS and FAS, or how they're doing current work together to support customer agencies?
Go ahead.
Okay. I have one or two favorites, and they happen to be things that started out with building projects. And perhaps the most favorite one, because they're a challenging customer, is the FBI. And we started out doing a bunch of FBI field offices. And someone, this is before my time, convinced them that you guys should help do some of the IT work. And that led to, across a whole bunch of FBI field offices, we're working together, not just on the IT work, but on the fit out as well, the furniture. And so FBI, maybe more than any other agency now, sees us as a one GSA workplace supply system.
Right, and I agree that is one of the areas. And I know that that wasn't necessarily a real smooth start, but I think we're learning as we go through the different field offices. And I think we are starting to get things right here over the recent past. We also have an effort, Rob Graff and Mike Gelber up in Auburn are collaborating on the Edith Green Wendell Wyatt building in Portland and efforts like that. And the thing is, this is not necessarily for one of us to essentially be ascendant over the other, but to essentially be able to give the requisite talents to the projects and not think of it as, is it ours or is it yours? And the thing is to try to work seamlessly.
Right. You know, it's always, I always noted, and you know, having been on the outside for good 8 or 9 years again, I noticed, you know, people refer to GSA buildings.
Yes.
I mean, they refer to GSA. If you provide them with something, if they order something off the schedule, it's the GSA schedule.
Right.
If we give them space, it's GSA. Whether they're happy or not, it's GSA.
Right, I know.
And so, you know, they don't. We may think PBS, FAS, but they don't.
Right, that's exactly it. The customers, if they deal with a part of GSA, they think of it as GSA, and so if one of us messes up, both of us will suffer. Yeah. So we need to keep that in mind, that from the customer perspective, we're one agency, and they expect to be treated as a single customer. So.
Yeah.
Those are good examples and really good insight about the different projects. What determines when it makes sense, or when does it make sense to actually collaborate? Is that all the time, or what determines that need for collaboration?
You know, I'll say in previously, to be honest, it hasn't always made sense for us to collaborate directly because of the following. You know, we get the money to build a building, and we get the money to sign leases. The agencies then get money to pay us rent. But the agencies have directly, up to now, done a lot of their own space planning and a lot of their own furniture buying. So we may not be, you know, so they come to us and we give them this, you know, this warm lit shell, as they say in the real estate business. And then we kind of like go away, or we think we've gone away. But at the same time, often they're turning to FAS and ordering furniture off a schedule, talking to FAS about the IT. And so there's been a collaboration, but it's been pretty indirect.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the cases in Region 8, they've started making, Tim Horn and Paul Prouty have been making joint customer visits. And I think that's a good place for us to start, is that when we meet with a customer, we can, you know, have a number of people meet with the customer and tell them all the types of services we provide. And it doesn't necessarily need to start out as a construction project or a renovation project, but essentially let the customers know the vast array of services and support that we can provide them, and then go from there. So it doesn't need to be every project. You know, we need to pick and choose. You know, there is a difference in customer bases, so we need to be sensitive to that as well. So,
right.
Sounds like you need to get to know that customer and see if it's appropriate for collaboration or not.
Yes.
Right, but you know, increasingly there aren't going to be very many customers in the years that the way I see us working in the coming years. There aren't going to be very many that it's not appropriate for us to work together. Right. This whole workplace business that we're talking about, this is so much more that we have to shift in our heads. And you know, I'm older and I'm a real estate guy, but you know, the workplace now it's that line that Martha Johnson talks about all the time. You know, work is what you do, not where you go, and that means a lot of it is technology, and more of it's going to be technology. And so we're going to, you know, I got to say, for PBS folks, we're going to miss out totally if we're just anchored in the physical space.
Interesting that you bring up technology, because I'm going to ask the audience to participate in a question that we have and see what your comments are about that. So usually at conferences we ask you to put away your BlackBerries, don't turn them on, but now we're asking you to get them out. So if everybody would please get out your BlackBerry, turn it on. You can put it on silent so we don't hear a lot of rings. Some of you all might have done this before. You guys have your BlackBerry?
Okay,
no,
I'm ready.
Collaborate.
I'm ready.
There we go. You're ready. So if you've done Poll Everywhere before, you'll be familiar with this. But what we want you to do is text your answer to 22333. So where you're going to text your answer is to the number 22333. It's up on the screen. If you don't know how to text, grab a partner at your table so that you learn how to text so you can do this next time. So here's the question. Where do you see PBS and FAST right now on a continuum, so 1 to 100%, with current projects and partnership efforts?
Does that mean what % of the time do we work together?
you think?
Yes, kind of. What do you see? Currently, what do they see? So if it's 0 to 25%, text GSA 1, 26 to 50%, GSA 2. We've already got an answer there. You can see this updates in real time. So in real time, we got this 51 to 75%, GSA 3, and 76 to 100%, GSA 4. You've got 90 seconds to work that, and Kevin will ding the bell when it's finished. So make sure you keep texting in. We can see how many people. We've got 57 results. So far, we're looking at 0 to 25, 26 to 50.
Any of the people my age need help learning how to text? Okay.
I see a hand up here, so somebody go help Al.
Al.
There we go. If you don't know how to text, grab your partner. We're doing more and more of this, so grab your partner and see. Did you guys already send in your answer?
I did.
Collective?
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, collective.
Collective answer, that's right. Here we go. We can see things are changing.
Dun, dun, dun,
101 results. I think we have, what, 300 people here? About. So keep voting, keep voting. This is, you know, can vote once from each BlackBerry. I don't think it lets you vote twice.
This isn't Chicago.
This is, exactly.
Only one
That's
vote
right.
per person.
So looking about where you all thought it might be, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll wait just a little longer while they just make sure everybody has a chance, and then see what your observations are about that. Whoa! That is a loud bell.
Yeah, that's a good bell. Yeah, come
Boxing ring, exactly. Okay, so looking at the audience's reaction to that question, where do each of you see us on this continuum with the current state of collaboration? You both want to comment?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, actually, it's better than I thought, to tell you the truth. I thought that there would be more in the 0 to 25%. I'm happy to see that we're approaching 50%. I mean, that's 94% of the time, 93. It must round, right? Even I can tell it's 101. Okay.
But I would see that the mean is, you know, somewhere around 30 to 35%. And I look at it as we have just started on this journey, and this conference is a good indication of the way to start to build on where we are. We do need to improve, and getting together and communicating, exchanging ideas, and exchanging information about our needs and our customers' needs is the exact way to start to drive that number up in my mind.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. We've got one more poll, so keep your BlackBerries out. This next one is talking about the right level of collaboration. So what do you think the right level of collaboration is on that continuum? So how often should PBS and FAS be collaborating on projects? Again, you're going to text to 22333, and you text partner 1 for 0 to 25%, partner 2 for 26 to 50, partner 3 for 51 to 75, and partner 4 for 76 to 100. So how often should they be collaborating, PBS and FAS?
And you should know our IT is not good enough to know what phone number sent which. One of those.
Oh, yes, we do.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll be giving you that report a little later. No, definitely anonymous. It looks like it might be catching up here, because I'm sure some of you have sent your answers in. You're pretty fast on the text.
No. I was warned.
I think we'll go on and see the results later and go with the next question, because it looks like it might. Oh, there we go. As soon as I said something. 142 people at the same time.
Wow. More people on this one.
So look at the highest, 51 to 75, 45%. I forgot to tell you about the bell, so 60 seconds, or you guys might have already said it. 30 seconds from now. 158 people. I like this participation.
Fly me to
Look
the
at them
moon.
grow. I know this is the time that you should be singing.
Saved by the bell.
Exactly. So you talked a little bit about this, but in your opinion, what do we do to move the needle from where it is today to get to the right level? And what do you think about the results that came up here?
Yeah, well, I have a theoretical answer and a practical answer for PBS. Theoretically, obviously, what I've been talking about, what we've been talking about, is the need to think about the workplace differently and how people get the work done. And I think the driver for us to work more with FAST is in this whole area of talking to our customers about the workplace requirements really are. Yep. And then the practical, and that, because that involves so much of technology and telework, that I think we'll naturally have to work with FAS and come in with a package solution. And the way to do it, quite honestly, I think is, while we still need to learn how to do this global project management, I think we're going to see at the very beginning of most of our solutions development bringing FAST representatives in our global project management team. And when we go back to the customer and say, we heard what you're thinking about, we're going to march back in the door with someone from FAST on our team saying, and here's the suite of services or applications that FAST can give you to help solve your problem.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Nikki, I'm actually surprised at the numbers here. And how often should PBS and FAS be collaborating? I guess my stock answer, which I was going to use, but which these results kind of overwhelm me, it appears that the audience is out ahead of the senior management team. And maybe the senior management team needs to essentially follow the example of our regional management and regional staff.
Yeah, I like this. It's realistic. I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad y'all didn't just sort of go for the easy 100% answer, and because there are probably times when we still do some separate things. Right. I think that's going to be less and less, but that's a great message.
No, it is. It's a great message for us to take back.
Yeah.
Good. So. Yeah, looking at raising those numbers and the opportunities for collaboration.
Yeah.
I want to take some questions from the audience, and I think this is a good time to do that because they may be able to comment on why they think that's these higher percentages or whatever it is. But let's open it up for questions about collaboration between PBS and FAS. Got one over here, up in the front. Fabulous.
Oh, good.
Your microphone is on its way. Okay.
Still, I think.
No, hit it again, Jack. There you go.
Hello?
Yep.
There you go.
Okay.
It's a magic microphone.
I'm still Jack Hanley as before. Back when your previous iteration as the PBS commissioner, I think you set in motion a series of meetings called the Integrated Workspace, I remember going to Fort Worth and Philadelphia, and it was an effort to bridge the gap with FTS and PBS, and there they talked mostly about wire closets and how when construction projects are done, that FTS had to get involved with wire closets and how they're designed and that sort of work. But one of the cautions I would have is that when FSS decided to collaborate with FTS, they ended up gobbling them up. So as a 30-year PBS employee, I hope that we don't get gobbled. But I guess the basic question is, what kind of thoughts do you have about a way to do it that maybe is a little more effective than the last time?
Okay. That's a good, fair question, because here's what I think are. Let me answer it in two ways, Jack, if I can. One is I think it's fair for most everyone who's been here for 10 years or more to think, I've heard this before, or is this the flavor of the month? And they're talking collaboration again. Kumbaya. So is that what we're doing? So. I think, one, the world is driving us to a different place. I mean, just what you said, when you talk about, last time we were talking about wire closets, I remember asking the question once or twice about what happens if this technology gets totally overwhelmed and we just go wireless. And everyone's saying, I don't know, Wi-Fi in buildings doesn't work very well. But, you know, it's here. So I think one thing that we need to do two things. One is to recognize that on the one hand, people like to get together. I mean, I don't think technology is going to put conferences like this out of business. And if you want to create loyalty in the work setting and have people work in teams, at some point, you know, we're social animals, we human beings. You got to get people together and they got to have a place to go that they call their own. I really do think that's hardwired into the DNA. On the other hand, you know, if you just compare the way we work to the way people worked at the beginning of the 20th century, you know, it's a huge difference. And so I think that there's still going to be buildings. There's still going to be a place where people go to in-person talk, but either go to court or work out their Social Security or all that kind of stuff. So I'm not too worried about getting gobbled up that way. I'm worried about whether we'll be able to actually get out of our own way and get the work done together. And I don't know whether the FTS people feel like they got gobbled up or who the gobbler and the gobblee was, but I don't.
And the thing is that FAS is not interested in gobbling people up. We're interested in trying to get better at what we do, and we know we have a lot of room to improve. So.
Plus, we're tough.
Yeah, you're big. You're a big elephant.
Right.
Giants, as
Yes.
Jeff would say.
I'd be interested
giants.
if anybody out there would like to say why they thought that the 50 to 75 range was right and not 76 to 100. Because you all are on the ground, and I suspect you know that better than I do. But you can ask whatever question.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tia Meredith from Region. Wow, that was loud.
You sound good. You sound good.
For Region 10, I work in the real estate area, and I'm not going to comment on the 50 to 75%.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask a question about how we're going to make the PBS FAST collaboration seamless to clients. Because I kind of heard us talking about going to the table. A lot of times PBS, we go first, and then we come back and we talk to FAST. And how can we eliminate some steps for the client where you're kind of going back and forth?
You know, the whole GPM thing. I mean, you know, I'm on a little bit of an evangelical bent on this thing. Is if you ask a lot of our clients, I'm not saying in Region 10, but if you ask a lot of our clients, they'll say, I didn't meet one PBS along the way. They already feel like they've met a couple different parts of GSA. You know, I met somebody in Client Solutions, and then I met somebody from Leasing. And then the project had to get built out, so I met somebody from DNC or some other contractor they hired. And somewhere along the way, somebody from Portfolio Management showed up and said we couldn't do any of that. So I don't, you know, or, you know, so just to throw you portfolio guys under the table. So we got to get better at that. And I think if we do, if we sort of go to them as a team approach with a project manager from the beginning, what my hope is that sometimes when they make that first phone call, the very first time we meet with them, there will be somebody from FAST sitting around the table. You know, and we don't necessarily have to introduce ourselves as, hi, you know, I'm Bob, I'm from Portfolio, or I'm from Lease. You know, again, we could just say I'm from GSA, and we could say this is our IT expert and our furniture expert and all that. Can I just make one other plug? I also want to grab back from a lot of the agencies that space programming that they do on their own. Because by the time, you know, when we let them go out and hire somebody who comes back in with some old-fashioned space thing, we've really lost an opportunity to add value to what they do and to integrate our services better. Anyway, I hope does that answer your question at all? Is that fair?
Thumbs up, she says. Thumbs up.
Come see me afterwards. Bring your APAS sheet with you.
Yeah.
No, that's a great. That is a good question. You know, that's the hard. Everybody. Here's the thing. In the private sector too, it's amazing how when I was there, everybody says that they work in teams now. You know that? I mean, this is sort of the big thing. And most of you all, by the way, as the GPM team has gone around, the first thing they get told is we all work in teams. But everybody says it, but really doing it is hard. Because it really means that people from different disciplines have to come together and put their thinking caps on and be willing to let somebody take the lead in representing us to the client. It's hard.
Hello.
We're going to wrap up this. Or do we have somebody back there? Okay, yes. One more question.
Yeah, this is, I'm Maurice Smith. I'm from Region 8, and I'm with FAST Network Services. And I recently came from PBS, and one of the things I noticed about moving over to FAST is how much I didn't understand about FAST and all the different things that they do, or that we do now. And so what we've done in Region 8 is we've made a very specific effort to educate between PBS and FAST about the different portfolios and what it is that they, each of the groups do, so that way when we do talk to our customers, we at least know who to point where to point the customer to. And so I guess my question is there anything at the national level that you guys are talking about putting in place in order to just become familiar with ourselves?
The thing is I'd say my invitation to this conference is a start. Having the FAS people representation here essentially gives all of us an opportunity to essentially discuss the different things that we have going on in each of the regions. I know that in Region 8, that Paul and Tim have also, besides the joint customer visits, have essentially discussed the possibility of having essentially dual contracting warrants so that their contracting officers have both an FAS and a PBS warrant. And I encourage them to continue that effort, because in times where we have, emergency response, or when you have, like, the Recovery Act bubble, that puts a lot of burden on a current staff. And being able to essentially move people around within the organization, but you have to know what the different organizations do, what they offer, and essentially see if you can fit that into what you do.
Here's a mea culpa. I had this job for 5 years, my first tour of duty in GSA. I didn't once visit the FSS or FTS headquarters. In the year that I've been back now, I've been on panels like this or talked with about serious business issues the FAST leadership probably a dozen times, and I definitely didn't do that a dozen times the last time. We're going to get our regional commissioners and the assistant commissioners of the two services together, which also hasn't happened so much. So there are things brewing, and I don't think they'll happen overnight, but I think we're on the way. I've learned what assisted acquisition services is. I didn't know what that was.
But that's just a small part. We have the property program and the fleet, and the IWAC, the integrated work.
The fleet.
The fleet.
Oh,
would you say I said floats?
No.
We build floats too.
That's right.
But we have a number of programs, and these are not necessarily programs where it's us interjecting ourselves into a process, but these are processes that we've developed either for the government, whether it's the credit card program or the e-travel program, and just knowing what each other does goes a long way to opening those opportunities to collaborate and when and where and at what level. So.
Great.
Well, since we have the opportunity to have you all together, along with the whole audience, is there anything you'd like to share with the audience as we part about what they might want to do or activities that they might want to consider to continue collaboration?
I'm into this sort of. I want to start placing some bets on our performance measures. So I'm going to meet people upstairs later. And
is that at the craps table or somewhere, right?
Now, what I would suggest is this meeting right here. This is a great start, and it's kind of. I would be willing to say that we don't need to have necessarily any FAST-only meetings or any PBS-only meetings. That we need to really start to essentially salt each other's organizations.
Yeah, and for the PBS folks, I just say, walk around any workspace, your own workspace, the ones that we provide for our clients, and just see how much of it is pure real estate and how much of it is FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and IT. And you'll know that we got set up in 1949 to provide that whole thing, and we haven't quite been doing the whole thing. So I'd say, just keep that in mind. And I guess the final thing is, and I think Maurice said it, we actually need to meet some of the folks in FAST. It's hard to refer someone to a customer if you don't know the name of the person you're referring them to. So that to the extent that we can have some happy hours, whatever, and get to meet each other, that would be really useful.
I would be happy.
Thanks. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Well, I thank both of you for being here. You've been very insightful and kicking off the conference, talking about collaboration, innovation. We'll keep using those themes. And as directors of the show, you've led these star-talented people towards a common purpose, and we appreciate that. And we will see you around the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nikki.
Thank you.